Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast, your show for all the best Commanders talk out there. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, all audio platforms, YouTube, anywhere you can find us. Subscribe. We appreciate it. I am here with a skeleton crew tonight. I'm here with Eric. Man, how are you?
I am the skeleton crew. Well, you and me are both. We're the skeleton crew. We're gonna hold it down. You won't even know the other guys are gone.
Ellie and Mike are working hard. They'll probably join us after the game and before the game this Sunday. But you and me tonight, we've got an important matchup here. We've got the New York Giants this Sunday, and the New York Giants. They're not off to a great start, but they always seem to play really well against us. What are your thoughts as we're 3-3 heading into this weekend with the Giants?
Well, they always play well against us is a bit of an understatement.
Yeah.
We tend to forget how to play football when the New York Giants come to town or when we go up there. I don't understand what it is. We have a real tendency, the Commanders football team, Redskins, dating back to forever, just have a real tendency against the Giants to just lay eggs. Doesn't happen every time, but it happens enough that it's a safe bet that it'll happen. So this week is by no means a gimme. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you're right. We have not done very well. This is a game where we lay an egg. Last year, we lose to them or we tie them, and then off a bye, playing the same team back to back, we lose. That can't happen. We've got to win one of these two matchups here with the Giants. If not, sweep them. If we want to think about having a season, making playoffs, that kind of thing. So we need a better effort this time around. But let's get into it. Let's start talking about this matchup, and we're going to do kind of a little bit different format tonight. So Eric, why don't you tell us about the Giant offense and what we can expect out of them versus our Commander defense, who showed some life this past Sunday in Atlanta?
Yeah, the Giants' offense has been not much has been going on offensively for the New York Giants. They do not score a lot of points or have not outside of one game this season where they scored 4 touchdowns against the Cardinals. I believe that matches their output for the rest of the season in touchdowns. I don't think they don't score a lot of points. They didn't score any touchdowns last week. Didn't score any the week before that. It's been maybe 3-4 weeks since they've scored a touchdown offensively.
Yeah.
But again, that's when they play other teams. When they play us, things happen differently. Daniel Jones has been injured. He's got a neck injury. There's been some debate as to whether they're just going to shut him down or what's going to happen with that. I don't know. Daniel Jones turns into Joe Montana when he plays the Commanders. He stinks against the entire NFL. He's made a career off of kicking our butts. That's just facts. He just does it. Saquon Barkley back from injury. He missed a few games to begin the season. Came back last week. 200 yards rushing on the season. So not super eye-popping stats, but again, all bets are off when it comes to this team. He's got a week, coming off the injury to get his legs under him. So we'll see what happens there. New tight end, Darren Waller. Again, another guy who hasn't really gotten things going. I don't think he's found the end zone yet this season. Albeit nobody on the Giants has found the end zone this season. Again, he's a solid tight end. I think he's a little past his prime, but again, when you play the Commanders, it's just things happen, right? So the rushing attack, the offensive line has been up and down for the Giants. They've got talent on the offensive line. It's just one of those things where they've just not put things together for whatever reason this season. They have struggled offensively. Wide receivers, I like their wide receivers. I mean, guys like Sterling Shepard, Isaiah Hodgins. Those are guys that have, Hodgins had a really good game against the team last year. Darius Slayton. So there's stuff to work with there. Just they haven't gotten it going yet this season. But the Bears hadn't gotten things going yet this season a couple of weeks ago. And guess what happened? They came in here and put it on us. So we have our work cut out for us. Brian Dable is a good offensive coach. He's a very strong offensive mind. He completely outcoached Ron Rivera in 2 games last year. So there's that as well. So there is again, I cannot stress enough. This is not a cakewalk this week by any stretch of the imagination for our defense. Our defense has struggled. We managed to not give up 30 points last week, but Desmond Ridder had a big part in that because he was just awful. I I still don't trust this defense. Not to take away from the game that they played. They had a solid game plan. They knew that Ritter wasn't a great quarterback, so they focused on stopping the run. If Daniel Jones comes out, they're not going to be able to do that. If Tyrod Taylor is here, I don't know that you can employ that same game plan if Tyrod Taylor comes back. Tyrod's not the best quarterback in the NFL, but he is a very smart player. He's experienced, and he's a conservative player. He's not going to give you the short fields that Desmond Ritter did. He knows, he's been in the league long enough to not make stupid throws like that. You don't make a career of 12 years now of making bad decisions at quarterback. He's got a lot of starts under his belt. He's never been a great quarterback. He is what he is, but he is a solid backup. He's a smart player, and again, he's not somebody that you just overlook. So
he's definitely Tyrod is definitely the guy who will hit his checkdowns, scramble for some yards, try to keep the offense moving that way.
He's Alex Smith.
Yeah,
he's exactly. Alex Smith type quarterback, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that in this league. It's miserable to watch. It's just it's a boring offense, but it works. It's effective, and again, he knows, he plays within himself, and he's been doing that for years. He's not going to make dumb mistakes that a young quarterback like Desmond Ritter is going to make. And he knows, he knows his offensive limitations, but he is not afraid to take that shot when it's there. But it's got to be there. The thing about it is, when you're playing our secondary, the shots are there. So you got to be on your toes, because we get beat deep, once or twice a week. It just happens because we have breakdowns in coverage. So again, this is not a cakewalk whatsoever. The defensive front's going to have to step up and make sure that they get pressure on whoever's playing quarterback. Take away that time to throw, force them into bad decisions, focus on keeping Saquon Barkley and Matt Breida in check, and just hope for the best, because again, this is not going to be an easy game this weekend.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Whether we have Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor, we're still going to have to stop this rushing attack from the Giants. Saquon Barkley will be the focal point of the offense, whether Daniel Jones comes back or not. So we're really, probably a similar game plan to Atlanta. Stop the run and let Tyrod Taylor beat you. If it is Daniel Jones, you want him to try to beat you through the air, not him running, because he's been dangerous on the ground when he gets loose and runs around the edge on this defense. So you're exactly right. This still is a little concerning for me. We did a great job against the run against Atlanta, but we gave up like 400 yards of total offense to the Falcons. And Desmond Ritter, however bad he was, still threw for 300 yards. Now, obviously, they had a lot of plays on offense to get that 300 yards passing. But, as bad of a quarterback as he is, to give him that many yards, you can't do that, because all it takes is one pass, one shot to break open the game, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves in a hole. So we definitely don't want to do that. Moving to the other side of the ball now, our offense versus their defense. In kind of looking up some things for the show tonight, I was looking at the Giants defense in particular. If you remember last year, in that second game against the Giants, Brian Robinson had a really, really good day. He had about 80 yards rushing, and Scott Turner just benched him in the second half, just did not go back to him, and we ended up losing that game. They could not stop Brian Robinson at all in that game, in that second game last year. And that same trend continues into this year. The Giants defense is very good at pressuring the quarterback, making the quarterback have to make quick decisions, get the ball out, make mistakes in the pass game. But in the run game, they're not very good. Listen to this. So in these 6 games so far this season, first game against Dallas, the Giant defense gave up 122 yards rushing. Against Arizona, 151 yards rushing. Against San Francisco, 141 yards rushing. Seattle, 121 yards rushing. Miami, 222 yards rushing. Buffalo, 128 yards rushing. What that tells me is we need to run the football. This offense, Eric Bieniemy, this is not a time to be pass happy. If Sam Howell throws it 50 times, we will lose this football game. If he throws it 40 times, we will lose this football game. If we all remember that second game last year where Scott Turner said, well, let's go 5 wide on the goal line. Kayvon Thibodeau hits Taylor Heineke, balls out. They pick it up in the end zone there. We can't have that. We've got to run the football, wear out this defense, control the clock, and score that way. Use that quick passing game. If we drop back and let them blitz, they run. They like to blitz the Giants' defense. They like to create a lot of pressure and to cover up some of their deficiencies in their secondary. So they're going to bring a lot of pressure. And look, every time Sam Howell plays, it's 4 or 5 sacks a game, and teams know that, and they're going to try to pressure him because they're going to want to get those sacks because they know they can get to him. So let's not play into their hands, Eric Bieniemy. Hopefully he sees this. Hopefully he understands this, and he has some type of balance to this game. If we're balanced, or if we're a little bit more run-centric in this game, we will win, and we'll win easily. If we go with the pass and we pass all game and we're just doing straight drop back, we will struggle and we will lose, because that is playing right into what the Giants want to do defensively. They want to get after your quarterback and tee off on him, and we're not any good in that situation. It will be sack, interception, punt in that order as well too. So we really need to have a balanced game plan, if not a run centric game plan this Sunday against the Giants. If we do that, we win comfortably.
Okay, so looking at it, the Giants are another team that's coming in with a relatively low sack total. They've got 5 sacks on the season. Kayvon Thibodeau has 4 of them. They're going to leave this game with probably 10 or 11 because because everything you just said probably won't come true based on what we've seen out of Eric Bieniemy this year. He's going to drop Sam Howell back a bunch. And Kayvon Thibodeau is going to have a field day. And, this could very easily get out of hand with, one of those 6 or 7 sack games because, Thibodeau is a monster. He played really well against us last year. Our offensive line hasn't gotten any better. Sam Howell does tend to hold on to the ball. So it's really going to be the importance of the run and the very quick passing game is paramount this weekend, because they, again, just because they don't have a lot of sacks. I mean, what Atlanta have 4 sacks on the year coming in, 5 sacks on the year coming in, and they had 5 last week. The Buffalo had 2 sacks on the year coming in. They had 9. Like they're going to get to the quarter. Like Sam Howell's going to get sacked. That's just what's going to happen. Until he doesn't get sacked, we're just going to go ahead and assume that he's going to get sacked 5 or 6 times a game, because that's been the case so far. It is paramount for Eric Bieniemy to run the ball this weekend. I'm just, we had okay balance last weekend. We had a lot of short fields, which probably helped.
Yeah,
we'll see. I'm not convinced that Eric Bieniemy just wants to the ball. That just seems to be the case. And I think that's what he's going to do, because that's just who he is. So we'll see what happens there. But this defense doesn't play well against the run, as you said.
Yeah.
But, we're probably not going to run the ball against them. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and you're right about Eric Bieniemy, and this is something we've seen with young offensive coordinators. I know Eric Bieniemy's not young, but he's young in terms of this is his first year as sole play caller, and we've seen it with first-time play callers or first-time offensive coordinators. They want their system run, and they will be stubborn in the regard of changing their offense. And I wonder if it's going to, at some point click with Eric Bieniemy. Hey, we're not great in the 5-7 step drop back game right now. Let's put that on hold, or let's call it less, because he uses it a lot right now, and he uses it. I don't know if it's a crutch for him. I don't know if it's just something he really likes to do, but we use it way too much. And you've seen us struggle. You've seen the sacks pile up. We don't get sacks in the quick passing game. We don't get sacks in the screen game. We don't get sacks when we go play action. Sam has a little bit more time when we do play action. So, I wonder if at some point it clicks with him and he says, you know what, I got to change because it's not working. So hopefully he comes to that realization. But
and the play action game works better when you're running the ball effectively too. It's they're doing okay with it right now, but imagine how good it would be if they were running the ball. If they had a 50-50, 55-45 run or pass run split, how much more effective the play action pass would be, and some of those deep shots would be there.
You're exactly right. And sticking with Bieniemy, I was watching a couple of shows this week, and in particular, I heard Logan Paulson talking, and in the second half, when EB was going for all of these straight dropbacks, he said he had gone to all go special. Right, all go special is four verticals, and those four verticals are all deep routes, and that's where you're going to see Sam hold the ball. And by the time Sam says, you know what, it's time to run, it's too late. The pockets collapse, and he's sacked for 3, 4, 5 times. What do you think about the that being kind of the EB's go-to there? Like, hey, all
I
go.
mean, so it's kind of the playbook. If you see cover three, if they're playing like three deep zone, you run all goes because that beats cover. It's a cover three beater.
Yeah.
The trick is getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands quick enough, right? And there's got to be some sort of an outlet valve. So I don't have a problem with four verticals if that's what the defense is showing you that they're going to give up. But you have to be able to get back and make the throw, and that's been the trick so far this season. So I don't think it should be anybody's go-to unless the defense is giving it to you. I think the screen game and the quick passing game should absolutely be his go-to. The shallow crosses, the mesh routes, the quick screen passes, the swing passes. That's where I think this offense should live. The skinny posts. Those are the plays that we like. But there's so much more that goes into it that I don't know because I'm just a guy on the couch, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm smarter than Eric Bieniemy and I can sit down on a Sunday afternoon watching a game real time and break down what the defense is doing and giving you. So you kind of have to trust him a little bit, but at some point you see that he's doing it a lot. It's not always working a lot. The deep shots, he's getting deep passes.
Yeah.
But we haven't connected on a lot of deep passes this year. Now there's been some drops for sure. Like, he hit Diami in the hands last week. He's hit Jahan Dotson in the hands. So they're there. But I don't know the answer. I assume they're seeing a lot of 3D coverage. Now, Wink Martindale is still the coordinator for the Giants, correct?
Yeah.
Wink Martindale loves to blitz. You're going to see a lot of man coverage because on the back end of those blitzes, you see a lot, you have a lot of one-on-one coverage. You've got a rookie corner out there, the very good rookie at Deontay Banks.
Yep.
But I'm taking Terry, Curtis, and Jahan against a rookie cornerback and packet. So we'll see. I don't foresee Sam having a lot of time this week to drop back and pass because I think Kayvon Thibodeau is maybe a notch below Micah Parsons as far as like edge rushing and getting at the quarterback. Kayvon Thibodeau, I am just in awe of that guy. He's so good and he's better than I ever thought he would be. Like I was kind of wishy-washy on him last year. Completely proved me wrong. That guy's a monster as an edge rusher.
Yeah, he got off to a slow start, but yeah, you're right. He's turned it on here late
really good
this year. He's looked so much better. So Sam's going to have his hands full, and like you said, and I think you pointed this out on our post-game show that Sam was actually doing well against the blitz in the last game until the Falcons realized it. He was beating the blitz, and then they
dropping 7. Yeah.
Yep. And that's what kind of confused him and made him hold that ball a little bit longer and allowed that rush to get to him.
But we'll see, because that's not really in Wink's DNA. Wink is an aggressive defensive coordinator. Now, when you have a pass rush that can get to, when you've got Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau and I always forget. Hang on, the other really good defensive tackle. I can't think of his name offhand. Leonard Williams. You got those guys there.
Yeah.
You can get away maybe with not blitzing if you can get pressure with 4. I think it's in their best interest to do that because Sam seems to have a lot more trouble when you have a lot of people in coverage against that 4-man rush, and plus the 4-man rush can get home on our offensive line. Let's also be honest on that. But Wink Martindale is just a really aggressive defensive coordinator. I don't know that he's a guy who's going to not blitz just because the quarterback beats blitzes. It's just who he is what he does. So we'll see. We'll see how we react to it.
No, you're exactly right. There's going to be opportunities for Sam to connect on some big plays because you're right. Wink Martindale's not going to change his stripes all of a sudden because he's playing us or anything like that. He's going to bring the house because he's going to want to affect the quarterback, and we're going to need to be ready for it. So hopefully EB has a game plan that can handle that because if not, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly quick. Before we get to predictions, there's a couple other things I want to talk about. Emmanuel Forbes did not play a snap on Sunday. Ron Rivera, in his press conferences after the game, and then so far this week have said, "Hey, this is kind of a reset. It was kind of a reset for him to step back and see how it's done, see what we want done, and just kind of learn." What do you think about this? And do you think he plays on Sunday now?
I hope so. I don't like him being out, but without being in the building or being around him, you don't know what his mental state was. It could very well be in his best interest that he was so just like fried mentally that it wasn't going to work until you just pulled him out, let him take a step back. I'm assuming that's what it was. Um, again, you learn by doing, but if it's just like over and over again and you're seeing the same mental mistakes over and over again, it may be time to just take a step back. Hopefully it wasn't a punitive thing, because I don't think that's the way to make a cornerback better, just because he's getting beat for being overly aggressive to just pull him. But maybe it was just like a mental break where you have to just take into account where he's at emotionally, mentally, whatever, to pull him out. I think he definitely plays this week. I think this is a good game to get him back in, because this is a team without like an elite receiver. Like, he's not going up against Stephon Diggs or AJ Brown or DJ Humphreys or anything like that. He's again, the Hodgins, really good receiver. Steve Slayton's a nice receiver. It's a quality team, quality receivers, NFL level receivers, but there's no elite, there's not going to be a Pro Bowler out there, an all pro type receiver that's just going to beat him like a drum the whole game, hopefully. So, this may be a good game to ease him back in, to just, get him back in the flow. I would hope he doesn't sit out another week to reset emotionally. I think one hopefully would just be enough. If he has to sit out another week because he's not mentally there, then that could be a whole other issue that we got to deal with. You got to get a psychologist in to talk to him or something. So yeah, hopefully I want to see him back out there. He's been my guy all off season. I'm not going to back away from him because he had a couple back days. I think he's got a great future ahead of him. I think he's going to be a stud corner in this league. So let's move forward and see where he's at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I always have to question how Rivera develops some of these guys. He did a similar thing with Jamin Davis. While he didn't quote unquote bench him, there were games his rookie season where Jamin Davis got like 5 snaps, 4 snaps. And, look, if you're a first rounder, you're probably expected to start. And I think at times they just put him in a bad situation. I don't know that, AJ Brown was the guy that you needed to leave him on the entire game with no help. That's just not a recipe for success. Maybe, shade the safety over there, give him some help, ease him into some of these things. So I can't really blame him too much. I got to put that on the coaching on there. So having him sit out the game, I don't think that was necessary. Maybe just give him a smaller assignment. Say, hey, you know what? Why don't you cover the number 3, number 4 wide receiver? We'll work our way back up to it the week after, something like that. But to sit him out there completely, I think it's a wasted opportunity for a guy who is really talented. He is really good. So hopefully his confidence is not shot or it's not affected, and they put him back in here this weekend and let him build up. We got Benjamin St. Juste, we got Kendall Fuller. Let them get the tougher assignments. Whoever they think the number 1 is for the Giants, which they're certainly not an AJ Brown, not a DJ Moore or anything like that. But let those guys take that first assignment and then give Forbes something easy to kind of work back into. Let me ask you something else. Let's go to the let's stay with the defense. We've got, we hear it constantly. We've got 4 first-round picks on the defensive line. Montez Sweat's having a nice season. I think he's got 4.5 sacks right now. Daron Payne, we just paid him. He's got 1 sack. He's played well. 1 sack though. Jonathan Allen, 3 sacks. I think Chase is like 2. What do you think about the defensive line? Do you think that they're getting enough pressure, or does it seem like it's not living up to the 4 first-round pick status?
Yeah, I think when you've got that much invested in your defensive line, they should just be taking over games. And
Yeah.
each of the guys has done it individually for spells this season, but we haven't seen a single dominant game by the entire unit, which is really what, when you look at those 49ers defensive lines, the Jets defensive line, all the guys that have all that capital and all that talent on the defensive line, even the Cowboys, like, you see those guys just taking over a game, not giving up anything, putting everything on their shoulders. And we haven't seen that from this group as a group yet. Now, Deron Payne has been. I mean, he may have one sack, but he's been awesome this year. I think he's probably been the best defensive lineman. Now, part of that I think is that Jonathan Allen seems like he's getting all the double teams.
Yeah.
And which is great because Deron Payne's eating, and eventually they're gonna switch, and they're gonna teams will start doubling him, and you'll see Allen put those. But Allen's just been consistently great. Deron Payne is just a more physical. He's a better athlete, a more athletic, physically dominant player than John Allen. Maybe not quite as consistent, but again, I'm super impressed with him because my questions with Payne was, is he going to be the same guy he was last year now that he's got a fat wallet? And he has been so far, so good for him. But and again, Sweat has had really good stretches where he's just dominated and gotten like multiple sacks in a game. Chase Young has been consistently getting pressure on the quarterback the whole time he's in. But the team, I'd like to see the whole unit just eat the entire game, just dominate an offensive line. And I think you could do that against this Giants offensive line. They've got talent on the offensive line, but this is a unit that hasn't been cohesive yet. So I think this is a good game for that defensive line to really show why they have all that capital invested in them.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I do think more is required. I think I've said it before. When you're a first rounder, more is expected of you. I'm going to be harsher on a first round player than I am a seventh round player. I rarely take issue or criticize. Let's go like a Benjamin St. Juste. He's a third round pick. I think he's fulfilled everything that he's needed to fulfill to be considering a third round pick, and he's essentially a starter, right? He's a CB2. But when you're the number 2 overall pick, when you're the number 17 or 14 overall pick, number 21 of this defensive line, I expect dominance. I expect impact plays, regular basis. I expect the other team to think that you are so good, they have to change their game plan and base it around you, because you are that type of good. And we haven't gotten it. Deron, I think you're right. He's had a good start to this year. My worry was that, hey, 11 and a half sacks. I don't know if that's realistic, that was ever going to happen again. And we're off to 1 now on there. So I hope for his sake that picks up, because right, you've got that type of contract. I need to see that sack production then. So I need Chase Young, Montez Sweat. Hopefully they can produce some more big plays, impact plays, because they need to be leading the team. Like this was Rivera's plan all along. We're going to lean on the defense. We're going to lean on the defensive line, have them take over games. And they really only kind of took over that second half of the Arizona Cardinals game, which they were dominant. That was great to see, but we need to see that a lot more every game if possible on there. Let's go to the offense real quick. Jahan Dotson. I know we talked a little bit post game about his drop and what we're seeing from him. Do you expect anything to kind of change with him? Is this just the offense? One of the things that we've seen with Bieniemy's offense, he spreads it around. Sam is getting the ball to, in some of these games, 6, 7, 8 different receivers. Is this just how it is, or is something happening with Jahan?
It's hard to say. Like I said, my speculation, again, complete speculation last week, was because he's not used to not getting the targets, and maybe he's just not mentally there when he does get targeted. When you're used to being the guy for your whole career at Penn State, and even for a good chunk of last year, he was getting a ton of targets, and then he's just they're just spreading the ball around a lot, and he's not seeing. He's getting maybe 2 or 3 targets a game, and you got to make the most of those opportunities. It could also be that he's running wide open and Sam Howell doesn't see him. So without looking at all 22 film, it's hard to know that. I know there's been a couple where they've shown this year where he's Jahan was there in the end zone and Sam missed him, which it happens in the NFL. I mean, you saw how many wide open wide receivers did Justin Herbert miss last night? Yeah. So, it is what it is. But, yeah, I think you'll see this week an effort to get him involved. I think he'll see some more targets this week. I don't think it'll come in the flow of the game. I think they'll make a point to get him involved and see if that kind of spurs him along to have some more production. Because I would like to see, obviously I'd like to see, we say we want balance on offense, and then I'm going to turn around and say that I think, Terry and Jahan and Curtis should all get like 8 targets a game, right? But, I would like to see the best players on the team get looks, and he's in that category. I think you could take some deep shots away from De'Ami Brown, honestly, and
Yeah.
give them to Jahan Dotson, because De'Ami to me just isn't it. And I know him and Sam got that rapport, but it hasn't worked so far this year. Get Jahan, put Jahan, let him run those routes. You see Byron Pringle late in games. Like, no, I want Jahan Dotson in there. I don't want, those guys. Nothing against them, but I mean, they're not, those guys are street free agents or whatever. Jahan Dotson's a first round pick. Get him involved in the game. You've seen what he can do. He's had some huge games last year. He had some really nice. He's good after the catch. Again, you hit him in stride. He can run forever. I'd like to see more of that. He's a good route runner. Get him involved. And, I think this week you will see it, because Ron kind of alluded to it a little bit. He said it's a matter of time for him. We've got a lot of blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. Kind of, he made it a point to bring that up, that, I think you're going to see some Jahan's going to get some more looks this weekend. It's up to him what he does with them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Dotson, it can be exceptional. And I think probably with the start that he's got off to, a couple of the drops, I think just kind of compounded. And I think you're right. I hopefully that they do give him a little bit more attention, and maybe they use Terry on that mesh concept where Terry's kind of running across the field, and Terry's great at that. Like I think against the Falcons. I think it was a linebacker who tried to wrap Terry up on that mesh concept. He just ran right through it for a first down. Something like that with Jahan, I think, would be great, where Sam can just see it, hit him, and then let Jahan run after the catch. Running away from the coverage, I think would be something good, just to kind of get him going, get him started. And like Ellie pointed out, just keep running that, right? Like until they can stop that play, like we're pretty effective on it. Like Terry gets open on it, like whoever we have gets open on it. Like keep running those things until they show that they can stop it. Like no need to go away from it. If it works, keep doing it. Last thing, running backs. Now we talked about we should be running in this game, but we're probably not. Based off of what the enemy has shown so far this year. What do you think about? We saw Chris Rodriguez get a little bit of shine last game. Brian Robinson got a little bit more shine in the pass game. What do you think about their usage, and then Gibson too?
I think Brian Robinson should get a lot more carries than he's been getting. I don't like seeing him with 7-10 carries a game. It's no good. He's a guy that he's going to get going the more carries you give him. So I would like to see him in that 15 to 20 carry range every week. I think that's not unfair to ask. And I think that 3 yards a carry or whatever he's been averaging is going to go up if he does that as the game progresses. He'll be a 4-yard, 4.12 yard per carry guy if you just give him more carries. He's a guy that's got to get going. Chris Rodriguez, I think he's going to have a defined role. He's effective with what he does. He's a very good straight ahead runner. He's not going to get knocked backward, but he's not dynamic at all. Like I think he's basically going to go north south between the tackles, and that's what he's going to do. And he's a guy that should get maybe 3 or 4 carries a game, because I don't think he's going to be, it's good. Their defenses are going to key to what he's good at. I don't think he's not a guy that's going to bounce it outside. I don't know that he's going to be a threat in the receiving game. Who knows? But I think he's a very situational running back. And Gibson, I like what they've been kind of doing with Gibson. Get him the ball in space. He should be a good screen back, even though like Robinson's been super effective on the screen, and I don't think you should take him out either. If you're going to throw screen passes, those guys are great. Gibson on a jet sweep, I think would be amazing. Like kind of have him and Curtis Samuel interchangeable a little bit. There's definitely usage that's there, and I think he's a guy. I think he can thrive with 10 to 12 touches a game, and which should be doable, right? So if you get Brian Robinson his 15 carries, maybe 2 or 3 catches, give him 15 to 20 total touches, and then Gibson 10 to 12 touches, and Rodriguez 3 to 5 touches. I think you're good to go. I think you're going to have a really solid week on offensively if you can do that, and that'll help the passing game out immensely.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there. Brian Robinson needs about 20 touches a game, whether that's 15 carries and 5 catches, whether it's 18 carries, 2 catches, whatever that mixture is. he needs more because he's the type of back, he gets better as the game goes along. He's not going to break a 60-yard run in the first quarter, right? He's going to get 3, 4, 5, 6 yards. And then come third, fourth quarter, those turn into 7, 8, 10, 12, 15-yard runs at that point. So keep feeding him. And like you said, it's going to help the passing game, right? All of the over aggressiveness that the defense has and trying to get sacks, that'll get worn out by utilizing Brian Robinson, and that'll help out Sam, and that'll help out the pass game as well. And I want to see Antonio Gibson. If you remember, there was that swing pass where to Bijan Robinson that Atlanta did, and it got like 20 yards because the receivers that were lined up on that side essentially kind of ran a pick, and Bijan caught it, and Cody Barton, of course, out of position, and he was late, and by that time Bijan had caught it for like 20 yards. Like, I want to see Gibson catch those types of passes, be put in those types of position where he's already on the run in space, just like you said, and he can just use that speed and just eat up chunks of yards. So I want to see him more utilized out on the edges and throw these little running back swing passes to him, these little quick outs. Of course, the screens, we need more screens. Ellie said it in the post game. Andy Reid back in the day was calling screens every 6-7 plays. Like,
yeah, and those swing passes too. That used to be a staple of Andy Reid. Those little swing passes, the running backs, with the slants from the receivers, the running back, and that used to eat us up. He used to throw that to Ricky Waters against us back in the day and kill us with it. I agree with you. And they still do it in Kansas City. I'd love to see more of that. I love that play. As long as it's not being run against me.
Exactly, and that's something, I said in the post game, I was a little disappointed in Eric Bieniemy's play calling. That's something I thought we were going to get, because Kansas City runs that to death, and they get 5, 6, 7 yards each time that they do it. Those help move the chains, and they're easy completions, and it helps settle down that pass rush as well against the offense too. So I hope EB starts to incorporate some of that, because I think Gibson would be excellent at that. All right.
And the other piece also offensively, and we missed this last week, tight ends were just MIA last week. And really since Logan Thomas got a ton of targets in the Chicago game.
Do you think that is because it felt very much like the Falcons identified Logan Thomas as a big point of the offense, and it felt like they were trying to take him out of it?
I do. And that's fine. But you also have Cole Turner, who's proven to be very effective. I don't even know if he was active last week, honestly. I know Bates had a catch last week. But definitely find a way to get your tight ends more involved. Just because they're scheming against them doesn't mean you can't figure something out to run, because I think the tight end for this offense is really important. I'd like to see those guys not be on a milk carton this week.
You're exactly right. The tight end is important. We need more of it. And Cole Turner, too. I haven't been the biggest Cole Turner fan, but with his speed, his catch radius, and it looks like he got better this year in the couple of the limited snaps that we've seen him. He looks to be better. Get him out there. Get him matched up on a safety or a linebacker or something like that, to where he can use that 6'6" body and those long arms and help Sam out there. So I'm with you on that. All right, I think we covered offense, defense, Giants, what they could do, what we should do, what will probably end up happening. What is your predictions for the game, score, outcome, how it'll play out?
Yeah, I don't like this game at all. I really don't. So I'm gonna put it down as an L for Washington. I think Ron Rivera gets outcoached this week. I think Sam Howell gets sacked probably 6 or 7 times. Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. I just think, our track record going up there is just not good overall. Now, we've had some wins when, it's Joe Judge's last game and he runs, Jake Fromm up the middle from the 1 yard line. Like, sure, well, if Brian Dable if he loses his mind, but I just don't see that. I think this has the feel to me to be a get right game for the Giants, much like the Chicago game was for them, where we just lay an egg and we lose. And if Daniel Jones plays, the Giants probably score 30 points this week. If Saquon Barkley plays, it's probably 21 points, 24 points, a lower point total. But I think their defense will control our offense. Their defensive front will control our offense. And that's going to be a problem all week. So I'm going to go I'm going to say that Tyrod plays and the score is 23-16 Giants this week
Ooh, ooh,
with a lot of sacks.
yeah. You're exactly right. The Giants have had their way with us. This does feel like a Chicago Bears game. And of course, we made the Chicago Bears look like absolute Hall of Famers. And we saw what the Chicago Bears looked like the week after. They looked terrible. They looked like they had been
They look
all
like the
season.
Bears.
Yeah, they looked really, really bad. But against us, once in a lifetime type game. They, everything they threw up, receivers have 200 yards receiving, just wild stuff. And I think you may be right. I don't want that to be the case, but this is not a good matchup for us, and EB hasn't shown the ability to really attack the defense and say, you know what, we're this is what's necessary today. Let's do it. I think he's going to drop back, and it's going to be all go special, right? 4 verticals and sack city. Um, Now, if Daniel Jones plays, I think it absolutely is an L. As much as Tyrod is a smart player, he is a backup quarterback. And there's not much there. He can run. I think he'll hit the check down, but I don't think he's going to be able to make enough throws down the field to keep their offense moving. I think it's an ugly game. I think Sam gets sacked a bunch because I think we're trying to throw it. I think the game is unnecessarily close. I think we win somehow. I'm going 23-21 in a ugly, ugly game, but we somehow survive. And I think it's one of those games where neither team wants to win. It's just bad play all over. We just happen to win it at the end. 23-21. Good guys. Um, any last thoughts, Eric?
Well, I hope you're right and I'm wrong. And I hope Sam Howell, just proves that he's the type of quarterback that can go up there
Yeah,
and win.
that'd be nice.
He's played 2 divisional games so far and he's played very well in both of them.
Yeah.
Outside of getting sacked a lot, he's played very well in both of his divisional games. Let's see if that continues against the team that I always like our chances against Philly and Dallas is much better than they are against the Giants. For whatever reason, we just never match up well with the Giants. So let's see if Sam Howell can do something about that. I hope he can. I think he's capable. I just hope the rest of the team can keep up with him and Eric Bieniemy protects him as best he can.
Yeah, I agree. My final thoughts are very similar. I think the keys or the people who have the kind of the 2 biggest influences on this game are going to be Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell. If Eric Bieniemy could say, you know what, as much as I want to throw the football this game, let me take it out of my young quarterback's hands and let me put it in my running back's hands in the run game and our offensive line and wear out this Giants defense. They're not going to be able to sustain a whole bunch of drives here. So let's wear out their defense, keep them on the field the entire game, and control the ball. I'd like to see that. I hope that that's the case. If not, it's going to be a long Sunday, and I don't think we'll get the results that we want. So hopefully that happens. And everybody listening, please make sure you go subscribe wherever you get your audio podcasts. Make sure you subscribe. Check because there may be 2 feeds. Just look at the one that is posting new content and subscribe to that one. Check out the YouTube channel where we've got videos like this and other videos that we're posting and post game, pre game. We've got all those shows coming up. The website commanders247.com. Go check that out. We put up the podcast there. We put up articles that we write. I have one that was actually I wrote last year, but seems kind of pertinent now about head coaching and GMs and things like that come this off season as well too. But everybody, thank you. We will see you Sunday after the game.